Thank you for being with us today. I'll give a brief introduction to all of you before we get started. We have Stephanie. You are the head of CMF at NIO, the electric vehicle company that lets us use their beautiful spaces today, so thank you so much for that. Ronnie is the founder of Reroute Tech Solutions. You produce a fiber made from pineapple plants. And Claire is representing the sustainable angle today and organizes the Future Fabrics Expo and manages the innovations over there. And Simon is the business development manager at Lenzing, so you work with wood-based fibers like Tencel. So thank you so much, everyone. And my first question goes to you, Claire. You bring together so many material innovators in one space and get to hear a lot of different perspectives and voices within the industry and are kind of at the heartbeat of the conversation that is going on. So could you give us some insights on what the hot topics are, what everyone is talking about, maybe some of the challenges that you observe at the moment?
Yeah, so I think the Future Fabrics Expo, for those who don't know, is the largest expo of best practice and sustainable materials for fashion. We also showcase for home and interiors, automotive, and we've had for many years a focus on connecting designers to best practice material suppliers. So we've got a whole host of commercially available materials. And in addition to that, we have a big emphasis on innovation. And I think that's what I lead. And so obviously it's where my passion lies. And I think that we see that whole space really emerging and growing. So this year I showed 60 innovators. Every year we're trying to show something new. And I think where we see that space really evolving is there's a lot of those innovators are getting quicker to kind of a proof of concept. And I think now it's time to get those materials into product. And I think that's what the industry is really looking for, is it no longer being the future, but actually seeing those materials in the hands of consumers now.
And kind of in action.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I think a company that has managed to bring innovative fibers in action is Lenzing. Lenzing holds 80 years of experience in terms of material innovation, so that's very impressive. And I think one good example of why you are an industry pioneer is your EcoVadis rating, for example. So I saw that you hold a platinum badge, yes. And for those of you who don't know, that's very hard to get because it means you are among the top 1% of companies that were being rated. So I think that speaks for itself. Could you, potentially bringing in your business development background as well, tell us on how you got where you are and what are the key strategies that you follow?
Sure, thanks for the lovely introduction. I mean, sustainability and Lenzing is really the DNA woven in it. All our 3 fiber types we're producing are all sourced by wood, and we're proceeding really the highest and newest technology to have those ratings, what you mentioned, and it's like, for us, it's just the only way to go. So for us, it's really, sustainability is key. And we see in the industry, Claire, Ronnie, everyone can say, it's really the most important matters right now where we have to move. And for us, it's just like, thanks as well to our sustainability team, as those ratings are not easy to achieve. And right now, we just achieved the dark green shirt and the hot button ranking at Canopy. So this is like for a lot of suppliers and even brand side, it's the thing to judge and to look at it, and there we are really proud of it.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. Ronnie, you are in the process of building your company or finding your way to navigate with those challenges that Claire described with some of the strategies that Simon just brought us closer. What's your approach to material innovation and how do you know where to navigate in this very complex field?
Actually, material innovation is, I'm working with pineapple leaf fiber, and my company name is Reroute Tech Solution. And it comes from the realization that when I studied my master's in Hochschule Niederrhein, during COVID time, I had plenty of time because before coming here, I worked for many fast fashion and I didn't think outside of this it's normal practice. But when I deep digger in the material, then I see most of the material we are using, this is not very good for environment, and some of the materials is destroying our environment. You see that when 2019 and 20 there is lockdown, you see sky is more blue than now. So then I try to find out which material could be the new revolution or replacement of the existing one. Then I remind my childhood that when my family is from farming background, and I saw that in pineapple farm there is a lot of long pineapple leaves are getting wasted, and we can utilize those leaves to turn into the material, and every pineapple plants we are getting from every plant we can get around 100 grams of fiber, and it can save 1,000 of liter compared to cotton. So it can be the way. Then I started my journey, and now I'm working.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we'll get to this later as well, but you can already see how many industries we combine in this panel, and you just brought in aspects of the food industry, obviously fashion. So Stephanie, I'm really curious to know if you experience the same challenges in the automobile industry, and how are things going there in terms of material innovation?
Yeah, thanks, Lily, for bringing us together, but because I think this is a great example. We can only be sustainable and circular if we work in teams, and everybody brings a different knowledge and a different passion to the table and to the room. And I think this is great. We need innovators who are thinking outside the box, but we also need established partners and suppliers making these innovations scalable. And then that comes to us as nearly like an end user for these material solutions and innovations to bring them directly in a high quality and scalable solution to the users. And at NEO, great, thanks Ronnie for mentioning that. We have a vision of the blue sky coming, and I hope you see that also in the NEO house today. And we at NEO have this mission and vision to bring with each of our vehicles and our products and move one step further to this sustainable future, and hopefully, and we are far away from that, into the circular economy. And this is for me the biggest challenge, how to tackle that, and we need all of us to get to our goal.
Mm-hmm. I kind of sense it's industry-specific issues that we observe, but then it's also a systemic issue that might need joining forces in order to overcome this problem. I'll get to this later, but you said a very important word here, which is scalability, and I think there is no panel, no text, no article, whatever, about innovation where this word is not being placed at some point of the discussion. And I mean, Lenzing, for example, managed to effectively scale the fiber, but you are the fiber producer, and I wonder if you think there is a dissonance between, for example, the smaller brands and the bigger brands and the reach for innovation. Do you think that innovative fibers are accessible to bigger brands or smaller brands, and if so, what could be potential strategies to effectively scale material innovations?
Interesting question, which is like on the market, I think for all of us really an issue. Our fiber types are commercially scalable, so available, but we are aiming as well always for younger designers or startups to see like if we can work with our pulp for a special limited edition, what we had already previous year with orange fiber, for example. So it's not as easy because everyone in the industry is thinking you just get the raw material and that's it. But there's a production process behind. And then on top, like really MOQs are blocking totally as well, especially younger brands. Even the big brands have issues often to receive this specific fiber type, especially next-gen materials, than in the whole supply chain, which is not really easy.
And do you already observe any approaches at the moment that you think would be a successful solution, even though if they are at the very beginning still?
I mean, we have a special dedicated team for next-gen materials who are always benchmarking, especially in Europe, because the best startups are in Europe for next-gen materials, and we're always looking into new projects and hope to bring them to life.
Thank
And
you.
it's a really interesting model, I think, if I can jump in.
Sure.
I think for a larger innovative company like Lenzing to work with a smaller fiber producer and see how you can, those different perspectives of the industry can also come together to help. You know, we just heard all about ESPR, and we hear that I think that's been a big shift in recent years, is there's no longer this convincing that people need to care. There's more of an imperative of making decisions and actually scaling. So what does that actually look like? And it might be that kind of collaboration that gets us there.
And I mean, considering we are at a Berlin Fashion Week event right now, I think it's really important to talk about young designers, young brands, just creatives that work with a limited budget, with a smaller team. And I often think when I observe the industry that it's not a problem of will, it's more so a problem of accessibility of sustainable fibers or material innovations. Do you observe this when you have all of these material innovators in one space at the expo? Or what's your impression of the status quo in terms of accessibility?
I think it obviously still can be hard. But what we try to do within our material selection, of course, is make sure that we have the MOQs on the labels so that brands aren't wasting time kind of looking at a material that they might not be able to have access to. And then another way, I think, in part of my role is educating designers on how to work with these material innovators. And I think that's where small brands can be kind of even more well-positioned in a certain way, because they can be more nimble, perhaps, to work in a new way of working with a material innovator. Though, of course, from the material innovator side, they need both. They need the larger brands and the smaller brands to be able to push that forward.
What I hear here is not only cross-industry collaboration, but also inside industry collaboration, which you would kind of expect to be a normal practice already, but I wonder if it's used enough already. Maybe Stephanie, just jumping in here, how's that going in the automobile industry? You have Neolife, for example, where I feel like you try to implement these practices and have like a vertical collaboration going on, but is that something that might be more established in the automobile industry?
For NIO, I have to say it's fairly easy because we are a fairly young company compared to traditional manufacturers, and we are fairly small. And I think this comes back to my first point. If you have small committed teams, you can make things happening fairly easy and quickly. And this happened to the collaboration with Neolife. So I'm responsible for the materials within a car, inside and outside. And we realized when we went to our manufacturing plant in Hefei that there's just a lot of waste lying around. But beautiful waste. You know, you look at it as a creative and you're like, you want to touch it, you want to do something with it. And great that we have Neolife, who's producing great products, and you can go upstairs in the first floor and see this fashion collaboration we did with them. So they use the airbag fabric, which is normally going to waste. Of course, we can recycle it, but that also takes emissions, energy, all of that. We have our seat belts. We have beautiful colored seat belts, and they're just lying around there. So they're also used in these products upstairs. I don't think we, change the world with these small interventions, but I think it's the right step to do. And I have to say a lot of other car manufacturers are also doing that. So I don't think NIO is unique in that field. But as I said, I think we can be much quicker and efficient because we are a small team who love to collaborate.
Thank you. I think when it comes to material innovation, very often the ecological perspective is touched upon, and we do only have a 30-minute panel, so 30 minutes really do not do this whole topic justice. I think we could have a whole lesson, a whole study course, I don't know, and still probably wouldn't cover all of the topics. With this in mind, Ronnie, I have a question for you, because you very interestingly not only tackle material innovation from an ecological perspective, but also from the social side. How did you do this? Because you established 100 new jobs through producing your fiber. Could you tell us a bit more about how you managed to build these jobs and what's behind them, kind of?
Um, Actually, when I went to Bangladesh with my new idea, new innovation, what I did my university, then I went back to Bangladesh and I saw there is many people, they want to be part of it and they think this is the wastage which we are living on the land, and if you can use this, many of our girls can get job. Then my relatives and neighbors comings, may we get a job in your factory so that we can change our life, we can feed our families. Then initially 1 to 20, 30, then responsibility becomes bigger. This is how society is getting bigger and responsibility is getting bigger. And now we crossed 100 jobs, and more than 90% is female. And this year we are supporting 20 children for their education. We are paying their school fees, material, and some money for their study materials buying. This is the things coming from the norms. Actually, it is nothing happening through the proper planning, but from the responsibility I have in the society, this is the things. And I want to add something from scalability. Actually, two crucial questions in this material innovation. One is MOQ and one is scalability. How low I can make and how far we can scale. I think both should have a marginal things. For example, we can, as we are involving most of the things is manual, so you can say our materials is still mostly handicrafted. Only one machine is there, and the rest of the things is happening by hand. So we can, for MOQ, we don't have any problem. We can do any MOQ, but problem is with the there is other things as well. For example, spinning mills, knitting mills, dyeing mills. These are the things, but we can manage this MOQ. The scalability. With this pineapple, we can produce at least 5 million tons of fiber, but we need proper investment and proper planning for this. But I would say everyone, scalability should have a limit. For example, now maybe 55 tons of polyester is producing every year. It should be limited. I would say Lenzing has also, Lenzing or viscose, this also more than 20% of the stakeholders in the material market. I don't expect that it should be 20 millions of tons. So scalability should have a limit so that we don't produce a lot like what we are doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Otherwise, waste will not limit.
Yeah. We certainly have an overproduction issue, that's for sure. And that's actually an interesting note on whether there is, what's the end of scalability or overproduction in terms of sustainable regenerative fibers. Is there an end to that? I'm not too sure. Is that something you, for example, talk about at the expo?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think when because obviously at the expo is where you're sourcing kind of new materials to create a new line. So of course you have to address kind of overconsumption and overproduction first.
Yeah.
But yes, I think that's a really interesting point. All of what we're doing here is to challenge these systems that we're all basically acknowledging are broken. And so if we're designing new systems, why are we designing them with the same problems? Mm-hmm. So yeah, questioning scalability, I think, is one way.
Yeah.
Let me just jump in. I think one of the most important point that we are, especially here in this format as well, want to create some awareness for you. Because it's not only about consumption, you have to make the right choices, and the choices are made now. I mean, it's already 12:30, and we just have to make the decisions already a long time ago. But you're the next generation who can decide what you want to choose and which way you want to go. And I think this is why we are all here in the panel, and that's why we have this lovely audience here of you, and you're really interested. And just to give you a note, we are all staying longer if you have more questions, because we know it's a huge topic. We are here to answer your questions.
Absolutely. No, there will be a keynote after, and then there's a networking break. I still have one last question, and I think then we're almost at the end of our panel. Stephanie, your title is head of CMF, and I have to admit I had to Google what that means. I didn't know the title before. I'm not sure if anyone else had heard of the title head of CMF, but it stands for Head of Color, Material and Finish, and to me, that's such a cool title. I think it's so interesting, and I've never came across it in the fashion industry, which I find very surprising, because material, finish, and color are topics of fashion. That's what we always talk about, and that's especially what we always talk about in terms of textiles. So I'm not too sure why it doesn't exist in our industry, but it clearly shows the overlap between the two areas, and kind of makes me wonder if joining forces, and we touched upon this before, wouldn't be something that we should do more, and that we should collaborate more. And could you, with this in mind, tell us a bit about your impression in terms of cross-industry collaboration? Do you see it happening already? And if not, where do you see the biggest potential impact?
So right now it's really driven by each individual designer. So of course, as a team leader, I encourage my team to go out there to the fairs, to talk, to meet people. And one good example was, and you see it upstairs in our cars as well, we implemented the innovative material Karoon, which is a material based on rattan fiber. And I met the guys in London at Design Festival, and I just thought, hey, that looks very interesting, you know, not even knowing what the story behind was. And then the founder told me, okay, this is material. We love surfing. We go to Indonesia all the time. And rattan got out of fashion back then. It was nearly 10 years ago when we had that conversation. And he said, just by making this material a bit different, we hope that it comes to fashion again. And that's speaking of fashion. And I said, hey, that looks good. Let's make that happen. And then scalability, we first introduced it in a vision car. So not a car users can buy, but just showing our design vision at NEO. And then we said, that's just not enough. That's these very small parts, and you see them upstairs in the shelf. And then we said, what do we need to do as a team to make this production feasible? So we just talked to supplier chain, to engineering, testing, and then we nearly made it happen. And then all of a sudden somebody told my colleague, yeah, but the material travels from Indonesia, then to Italy, and then back to China. And we were like, oh, this is a bummer. Like we're stopping right there, or we just make a team and make this happen, that it goes from India directly, Indonesia directly to China, and we made that happen. But unfortunately, and this is the big challenge, it comes down to individual, passionate designers, engineers, partners. And I would love that these mechanisms, and I think Claire, you're a professional in that, let's bring us all together, that this becomes a routine in our daily life. And I think this is the biggest challenge, to make it a must and not a passion.
I think this is the perfect note to end on, actually. I don't think it could be any more inspiring than that. What I take away from this panel is really joining forces, collaboration, and not losing the big goal and where we are all heading, because material innovation and sustainability is a nitty-gritty kind of topic. You have to make baby steps, and it sometimes can be tricky to lose the big vision. So that being said, thank you all for joining today. I think it's moments like these and bringing together people, industries, etc., that kind of remind us on why we are doing this. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and can't wait to chat to a few people later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.